In the small town of Maplewood, Massachusetts, snow was quietly falling. Warm light spilled from a small house at the end of Elm Street, where old trees stood in a row. Eleanor Freeman sat by the window, turning the pages of a book she had borrowed from the library, occasionally glancing at the snowy landscape outside. Eleanor's face bore the mark of kindness, but also the shadow of someone who had endured much. "Mom, is this okay?" Lily's voice came from the living room. The 12-year-old was working intently on something, surrounded by colorful papers spread across the floor. Eleanor smiled as she stood up and walked toward her daughter. "It's lovely, Lily." "Who's it for?" "For Grandma." "A Christmas present," Lily answered with a serious expression. "Grandma hasn't been feeling well lately." Eleanor's expression clouded for a moment. Her relationship with her mother Margaret was complicated. Margaret had worked for years at the oldest real estate office in town and had a tendency to demand perfection. Especially from her daughters. "I'm sure Grandma will love it," Eleanor answered, carefully choosing her words. In truth, she doubted whether Margaret would appreciate Lily's handmade gift.
Do you know some people earn over $10,000 a month just by posting Reddit stories on YouTube? No face, no voice, just a laptop. I do it too. Link below if you're curious.
Margaret and Eleanor's sister Victoria always looked down on Eleanor and Lily. The difference was especially apparent when compared to how they treated Victoria's son Ryan. The phone rang, and Eleanor sighed before answering. "Eleanor? How are the preparations for tomorrow's dinner coming along?" Margaret's sharp voice echoed from the other end. "Hello, Mother." "Of course I remember," Eleanor replied in a calm voice. "I'm planning to bring potato salad. Victoria said she's preparing roast beef. Why don't you bring something more as well?" Eleanor closed her eyes and exhaled slowly. "All right, I'll bring a dessert too. That would be helpful. By the way, how is Lily doing in school? Ryan got a perfect score on his math test last week. Victoria and Tom are so proud." Here we go again, Eleanor thought. Lily is doing well too. She started volunteering at the library, and her teachers think highly of her. I see," Margaret's voice betrayed her lack of interest. "Well, see you tomorrow. Come at 5. Don't be late." After the call ended, Eleanor remained motionless for a while. Lily quietly approached her. "Grandma?" she asked. Eleanor forced a smile. "Yes, just confirming tomorrow's dinner." Lily didn't say anything, but understanding showed in her eyes. With a maturity beyond her 12 years, she gently squeezed her mother's hand. "I stopped by Grandma's house again today after school," Lily said. "I helped with cleaning, and Grandma smiled a little." Eleanor gazed at her daughter. She knew Lily visited her grandmother every day, but she didn't realize how much housework she was helping with. "Lily, you've been doing all that?" "No, it's nothing much. Grandma hasn't been feeling well lately." "But don't tell anyone," Lily said in a soft voice. "Especially not Aunt Victoria. She worries too much." Eleanor knew that wasn't the real reason. Margaret was too proud and didn't want to show her weakness, especially to Victoria. Eleanor could also imagine that Margaret was taking Lily's help for granted, not even saying words of thanks. Outside, the snow began to fall more heavily. Eleanor hugged Lily. "You're such a kind child." Lily smiled bashfully. "Hey Mom, do you think everyone will get along this Christmas?" Eleanor was at a loss for words. She didn't expect Margaret and Victoria to change their attitude toward Lily. But looking at her daughter's hopeful face, she couldn't crush that expectation. "I'm sure they will," she lied. That night, after Lily went to bed, Eleanor found her daughter's sketchbook. In it were warm caricatures of the entire family: Margaret, Victoria, Tom, Ryan, and herself. Above them was written, "My beloved family." Eleanor turned the pages, fighting back tears. Lily had drawn multiple designs for special gifts for the family. She had spent all her pocket money collecting materials and was trying to create handmade gifts, referencing books borrowed from the library. Eleanor's heart ached at the gap between her daughter's innocent hopes and the reality that might crush them. Christmas was just around the corner. The library closing time was approaching. Outside the darkening windows, street lamps decorated for Christmas glowed softly. Eleanor checked the clock as she returned the last book to the shelf. It was almost 6. Lily was probably doing her homework at her desk. "Mom, can I stay here a little longer?" Lily called across the counter. She had notebooks and craft supplies spread out in front of her. "What are you making?" Eleanor stood beside her daughter, curiously peeking at her work. Lily quickly covered it with her hands. "It's a secret. A secret until Christmas." Eleanor smiled and gently stroked her daughter's hair. "All right. Finish up by the time I'm done cleaning up." For the past 2 weeks, Lily had spent her after-school hours like this. After school, she would come to the library and, while appearing to do homework, work on some secret project. Eleanor could guess, it must be Christmas presents. As they left the library, the two walked home along the snow-covered sidewalk. Lily was quieter than usual. "Did you stop by Grandma's house today too?" Eleanor asked. Lily nodded. "Yes. I made soup and put it in the refrigerator. Grandma's cough has gotten worse." Eleanor looked concerned. "Has Mother seen a doctor?" "She says she won't go. It's just a cold, she says." Lily imitated her grandmother's voice. "But she asked me to get some medicine, so I went to the pharmacy." Eleanor stopped in her tracks. "Lily, how did you pay for it?" "With my own allowance," Lily shrugged. "It's no big deal, Mom." Eleanor's heart ached. Lily must have been using her savings for Christmas presents. And Margaret probably took it for granted. "I'll go check on Mother tomorrow," Eleanor decided. "But Grandma might get angry," Lily said worriedly. "If she finds out I told you." "It'll be all right," Eleanor placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "I won't blame you." The next day, Eleanor visited Margaret's house. Margaret seemed surprised by her daughter's sudden visit when she opened the door. "Eleanor? Did something happen?" "I came to see how you're doing," Eleanor said frankly. "I heard you caught a cold." Margaret narrowed her eyes for a moment. "Lily told you." "I noticed it myself," Eleanor lied. "Mother, you don't look well. Have you seen a doctor?" "It's nothing serious," Margaret said, leading Eleanor to the living room. "Would you like some tea?" However, when Margaret stood in the kitchen, she coughed severely and leaned against the wall. Eleanor hurried to her mother's side and supported her shoulder. "Mother, are you really all right?" "It's just a cold," Margaret said, but her voice was weak. "I heard Lily has been coming to help every day," Eleanor said quietly. After a moment of silence, Margaret sighed. "She's been very kind. But you take it for granted, don't you?" There was a hint of anger in Eleanor's voice. "Lily bought medicine for you with her own allowance." "I didn't ask her to do that," Margaret said defensively. "Besides, I'm planning to give her the same kind of present as Ryan for Christmas." Eleanor didn't believe her. Last Christmas, Ryan received expensive sneakers, while Lily got a cheap stationery set. "Mother, it's not about the value of the present," Eleanor said in a tired voice. "Lily only wants your affection." Margaret sat at the table and covered her face with her hands. "I've always done my best." "For all of us?" Eleanor asked. Or just for Victoria and Ryan? A long silence followed. You're coming to the Christmas Eve dinner, right? Margaret changed the subject. Victoria is planning a special menu. Eleanor sighed. Yes, I'll be there. On Christmas Eve, Eleanor and Lily headed to Margaret's house. Lily wore a red dress for the special occasion, with ribbons in her hair. In her hands was a carefully wrapped small box. Do you think Grandma and Ryan will like their presents? Lily asked anxiously. I'm sure they'll be delighted, Eleanor answered, though she wasn't convinced. When they arrived at Margaret's house, Victoria, her husband Tom, and their son Ryan had already arrived. Ryan was absorbed in his new smartphone and barely greeted them. Eleanor, Lily, Victoria gave them a formal kiss on the cheek. Lily, that dress, isn't it a bit small? Lily's face turned red. True, the dress was a bit short, but that was because she had grown. They couldn't afford a new dress. Victoria, Eleanor said calmly, I think it's a very cute dress. Lily, you look lovely. When they sat at the dinner table, the conversation quickly turned to Ryan's school achievements and Victoria's husband Tom's new promotion. Victoria proudly talked about her son, and Margaret listened with a broad smile. Ryan is considering applying to the private Exeter Academy next year, Victoria said proudly. With his grades, he'll definitely get in. That's wonderful, Margaret smiled at her grandson. You always make us proud. Eleanor glanced at Lily. Lily was also excellent in school, but no one ever asked about her grades. Lily received an award at the school ceremony for her volunteer work at the library, Eleanor said. Margaret responded indifferently. By the way, Victoria, this roast beef is really delicious. Eleanor fell silent. Lily continued eating quietly, but there was hurt in her eyes. Under the table, Eleanor squeezed her daughter's hand. After the meal, it was time for dessert. Lily helped Margaret in the kitchen, carrying plates. Grandma, Lily said in a low voice, how are you feeling today? Margaret answered shortly, fine, thank you. Did you take your medicine? Lily, Margaret lowered her voice, don't mention such things in front of everyone. Lily nodded silently and returned to the dining room with the dessert plates. As the night wore on, Lily's eyes grew heavy. Eleanor looked at the clock and stood up. We should be going. Lily seems tired. Yes, Margaret said. You'll come early tomorrow morning to open Christmas presents, right? Eleanor nodded. We'll be here at 9. On the way home, Lily was quiet. Are you okay? Eleanor asked. Lily gave a small smile. Yes. Tomorrow will be a better day, right? Yes, Eleanor answered, but there was uncertainty in her voice. When they got home, Lily went straight to her room. When Eleanor peeked in a little later, Lily was writing something on her bed. What are you doing? Finishing the last present, Lily answered, showing a small envelope. Letters for everyone in the family. Eleanor sat on her daughter's bed and gently combed her hair. You're such a thoughtful child, Lily. Lily looked up at her mother with a serious expression. Mom, whatever happens tomorrow, I'll be okay. Eleanor felt uneasy at those words. What do you mean? Just a feeling, Lily shrugged. Good night, Mom. I hope tomorrow will be a good Christmas. After Eleanor left the room, Lily added one last line to the envelope. This is my final gift. I have nothing more to give to those who don't know my worth. Christmas morning was blessed with a clear blue sky and shining sun. Fresh snow covered the entire town, creating a picture postcard scene. Eleanor and Lily arrived at Margaret's house at exactly 9 o'clock. Lily was carrying a carefully wrapped box and seemed somewhat nervous. It'll be fine. Eleanor embraced her daughter's shoulders and smiled encouragingly. Today is a special day. Margaret, who opened the door, was wearing a more festive red sweater than usual. Her complexion had improved, but Eleanor instinctively knew it was thanks to makeup. Merry Christmas. Margaret greeted them brightly. Victoria and her family are already here. When they entered the living room, many presents were already placed around the large Christmas tree. Ryan was sitting on the floor, excitedly eyeing a large box with his name on it. Victoria and Tom sat on the sofa, drinking coffee. "You're late," Victoria said with a slight sneer. "Ryan has been waiting for 30 minutes. "We're right on time," Eleanor replied quietly. "Good morning, Tom." "Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas," Tom smiled, the only one who always treated them fairly. Lily silently placed her presents under the tree. Her boxes were smaller than the others but decorated with beautiful ribbons and handmade ornaments. "Now, it's time to open presents," Margaret announced. "Ryan, you start first." Ryan took the largest gift from his grandmother. As he tore the wrapping paper, the latest gaming console was revealed. He cheered. "Wow! Grandma, I wanted this." "Thank you." Margaret beamed. "I'm glad. I had it specially ordered." Next, Victoria and Tom received high-end brand scarves and ties. Eleanor was given a casual sweater. "Lily dear, this is for you," Margaret handed over a small envelope. Lily politely received the envelope and said, "Thank you, Grandma." When she opened the envelope, there was a single piece of paper inside. Lily's expression froze. "What does it say?" Eleanor asked worriedly. Lily silently handed the paper to her mother. It had only, "You are worthless," written on it in Margaret's meticulous handwriting. A heavy silence fell over the room. Eleanor's face turned pale. "What does this mean?" Eleanor said to Margaret, her voice trembling. Margaret shrugged and smirked. "Why waste a gift on her? All she's done is get in my way." "That's right," Victoria joined in, laughing. "She's just a stupid loser. Giving something expensive to a girl like Lily would just be a waste." Eleanor stood up, shaking with anger. "How could you do this? She's your granddaughter. Don't you know what she's done for you?" "I never asked her to," Margaret said coldly. In the corner of the room, Ryan began to snicker. "My gaming console was expensive, wasn't it? Lily could never afford something like that." Suddenly, Lily quietly stood up. As everyone in the room watched her, she stepped forward to Margaret. Her expression was surprisingly calm. "Grandma," Lily said quietly, "this is my gift to you." She placed a beautifully wrapped box on Margaret's lap. "Lily, stop," Eleanor tried to grab her daughter's arm. "They don't deserve it." But Lily gave her mother a small smile. "It's okay, Mom. This is the last one." Then she took Eleanor's hand and said, "Let's go home." With tears blurring her vision, Eleanor held her daughter's hand and stood up together. They silently left the room. On their way to the entrance, Lily placed another small package on the table. "A present for Ryan," she said softly. "Since I can't give it to him now, I'll leave it here." The cold outside air greeted them. Eleanor tried to take out her car keys, but her hands were shaking too much. "Mom," Lily said quietly, "don't cry. I'm okay." Eleanor hugged her daughter. "Lily, I'm so sorry you had to hear such terrible things. What they said is wrong. You're a wonderful child." "I know," Lily smiled. "But I'm not going to help Grandma with housework anymore. I'm done spending time on people who don't know my worth." At that moment, a scream was heard from inside the house. Eleanor and Lily turned to look at Margaret's house. Through the window, they could see Margaret and Victoria, shocked by something. "Looks like they opened the present," Lily whispered. Inside the house, Margaret was speechless as she opened Lily's box and saw its contents. In a beautiful scrapbook, family photos were carefully arranged, each with handwritten notes about good memories. Photos of Margaret when she was young, Eleanor and Victoria as children, and even recent ones. Additionally, in the box were loving caricatures of the entire family titled, "My Beloved Family." But what struck the hardest was the diary Lily had been writing for months. It contained messages of concern about her grandmother's illness and detailed records of how Lily had helped Margaret every day. "She did all this." Margaret's voice trembled. Victoria quietly turned the pages of the diary, growing pale. "She came to your house every day to clean and prepare meals." "Yes," Margaret finally admitted. "But I..." At that moment, they found another envelope. When Margaret opened it, there was a letter from Lily inside. "Dear family, if you think I'm worthless, you'll soon find out what your days will be like without me. But don't worry, I'll continue to live believing in my own worth. With love, Lily." The letter slipped from Margaret's hands. She rushed to the window and looked outside. Eleanor and Lily's car was already moving. "Come back," she whispered. "Come back." In the stillness of Christmas morning, Eleanor and Lily entered their home in silence. The modest Christmas wreath decorating the entrance swayed slightly. "Shall we make hot chocolate?" Eleanor tried to act cheerful. "Then we can open my presents for you." Lily nodded slightly, but the pain of this morning's event still lingered in her eyes. "Mom, did I do something wrong?" Eleanor looked out from the kitchen. "What do you mean?" "Writing that letter to Grandma and everyone." Lily sat on the sofa, hugging her knees. "Was it mean?" Eleanor sat next to Lily and put her arm around her daughter's shoulders. "You just honestly expressed your feelings. That took courage." "But I didn't see Grandma's face," Lily said in a small voice. "I think Grandma was shocked." Eleanor was touched by her daughter's mature thoughtfulness. No matter how hurt she was, Lily never forgot to worry about others' feelings. "Lily, your present was very heartfelt. And your letter was honest and brave," Eleanor said gently. "Sometimes, it's difficult to tell the truth without hurting people. But the truth ultimately sets people free." The kitchen timer rang, and Eleanor stood up. "The hot chocolate is ready. Then let's open my present." The present for Lily was a new art supply set. A high-quality sketchbook, colored pencils, and a watercolor set. Lily's eyes lit up. "This is what I wanted." "Thank you, Mom." They spent a quiet time together. The phone rang several times, but Eleanor ignored it. Lily began drawing with her new art supplies, and Eleanor read her favorite book. Outside, it started snowing again. Past noon, there was a knock at the door. Eleanor exchanged glances with Lily and got up to answer it. When she opened the door, Margaret was standing there alone. Her eyes were red as if she had been crying, and she was holding a small bag. "Eleanor." Margaret's voice was shaking. "I want to talk to Lily." Eleanor replied coldly, "That's enough for today, Mother." "Please," Margaret begged. "Just for 5 minutes." Eleanor didn't budge. "Why do you want to see her?" "To hurt her more." "No," tears fell from Margaret's eyes. "I want to apologize." Lily's small voice came from the living room. "Mom, who is it?" Eleanor took a deep breath and opened the door a bit wider to show Margaret to Lily. "Grandma is here." Lily silently stood up from the sofa. Her expression was unreadable. "May I come in?" Margaret asked Lily directly. Lily looked at Eleanor and gave a small nod. Eleanor reluctantly opened the door and let Margaret in. Margaret, who entered the living room, was different from her usual dignified self. Her shoulders were slumped, and her eyes looked vacant. Lily, Margaret began, as if searching for words. I received your present. Silence followed. Margaret's voice choked. I did a terrible thing. I want to apologize to you. Lily stood quietly, saying nothing. The fact that you came to my house every day, cleaned, made meals. I took it for granted, Margaret continued. And this morning, such a cruel thing. She held out the bag she was holding to Lily. This is a token of my apology. Of course, it can't make up for hurting you. Lily didn't take the bag. Grandma, I didn't want expensive things. I know, Margaret lowered the bag. I've been looking down on you all this time. I didn't properly value your kindness, thoughtfulness, and talents. Eleanor stood next to Lily, placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder. Mother, even if you say you've changed, it's not easy to believe. I understand, Margaret nodded. I've been unfair to both of you for years. Especially to Lily. Margaret looked into Lily's eyes. I read your diary. How worried you were when I was sick. How you used your allowance to buy medicine. Tears ran down Margaret's cheeks. After you left, I finally realized. Without your help, I can't live anymore. Isn't that just dependency? Eleanor said coldly. No, Margaret shook her head. Without Lily, my heart feels empty. Her smile, her thoughtfulness. I took them for granted, but only now do I realize how much light she brought to my life. A heavy silence filled the room. Grandma, Lily finally spoke. I'm not forgiving you. Margaret nodded, closing her eyes as if accepting the pain. But, Lily continued, I'll continue to help you. Margaret opened her eyes in surprise. However, there are conditions. Lily's voice was small but strong. I want you to acknowledge that I am a person of worth. And I want you to treat Mom the same way. Eleanor was moved by her daughter's courage. A small body with a big heart. Margaret nodded through her tears. I promise, Lily. I will really change. It's actions, not words, that prove that, Eleanor said quietly. Margaret nodded and placed the bag on the table. This is your Christmas present, Lily. It's okay if you don't accept it. Lily stared at the bag, thought for a moment, then picked it up. Inside was a small box, and when opened, it contained a beautiful silver pendant. It was a heart-shaped locket with small photos of Margaret and Lily inside. This is something I inherited from my mother, Margaret explained. It's precious to me. Lily gazed at the locket, then gently closed it. Thank you, Grandma. Her voice was quiet, but a small gap could be felt in the wall of rejection. Would you like some tea? Eleanor said, surprised at her own suggestion. Margaret showed a grateful expression. Thank you, Eleanor. The three sat at the kitchen table and began to converse quietly over tea. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering everything in white like a symbol of a new day, a new beginning. 1 year later, Christmas. From the windows of Eleanor's house, warm light spilled onto the snowy landscape outside. In the living room, a large Christmas tree was decorated, with carefully wrapped presents arranged around it. The sweet aroma of baked goods wafted from the kitchen, and laughter echoed throughout the house. Lily, where should I put this? Margaret asked, holding decorations for the dining table. She had changed remarkably over the past year. Her hairstyle was softer, and there was warmth in her expression. Above all, She was visibly healthier, and her expression was brighter. Put it in the center of that table, Lily instructed, while she was helping Eleanor in the kitchen. Lily, now 13, had grown a bit taller and had a more confident air about her. Around her neck, the locket Margaret had given her gleamed. The front door opened, and Victoria, Tom, and Ryan entered. "Sorry we're late," Victoria said, brushing off snow. Ryan's choir practice ran long. "Choir?" Eleanor asked with surprise. Ryan nodded, a bit shyly. "Yes, I joined the school choir." Lily suggested it. Ryan had changed over the past year too. That arrogance was gone, replaced by a more considerate attitude. His relationship with Lily had improved in particular, and sometimes he even asked her for help with homework. "Everyone, dinner is ready," Eleanor called from the dining room. The family seated around the table was enveloped in an atmosphere clearly different from last Christmas. Margaret listened not only to Victoria but also to Eleanor's stories, and proudly asked about Lily's school achievements and activities. "Lily, I heard your drawing won a prize at the school exhibition," Margaret said. "That's really wonderful." "Thank you, Grandma," Lily smiled. After dinner, it was time to exchange presents. This year, Margaret had prepared a special gift for Lily. "Lily, this is my present for you." Margaret gently handed Lily a wrapped box. When Lily opened it, inside was a beautiful leather-bound sketchbook and a card. The card read, "You have given value to my life." There was also a collection of classic literature that Lily had wanted for a long time. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. "Thank you, Grandma." Margaret gently embraced her granddaughter. "No, thank you. For everything you've taught me." Eleanor looked around at her family and smiled quietly. She had learned deeply over the past year what a true family is. It's not just blood ties, but respecting each other, cherishing each other, and sometimes forgiving each other. Lily's pure heart and courage had changed this family. Margaret too had found new meaning in her life. She began volunteering at the local senior center, talking to other elderly people about the importance of family. Her experiences influenced many people. Victoria was also changing little by little. She began to realize the pressure her perfectionism put on her son and started to respect Ryan's individuality. On Christmas night, after everyone had gone home, Lily asked Eleanor, "Mom, we've really become happy, haven't we?" Eleanor gently stroked her daughter's hair. "Yes. But this isn't the end, it's a new beginning. Families are always changing." Outside, fresh snow had quietly begun to fall. Like a pure promise for the new year.